Hello, viewer, and welcome to Spotlight here on Hope TV, where you look and live. And on Spotlight, we are always doing our very best to bring to you conversations, persons who are doing just great things in the community in the direction of light. Now, this season is a difficult season in many ways for everybody. I mean, we are talking about water. And even though you live in high places, somehow even people in those high places have been affected by the water. I mean, people in low places are told to go to high places. People in high places are being moved to other places. Now, whether you also are in a great neighborhood, lofty neighborhood, or you are just, in your regular neighborhood, it doesn't matter. I mean, all of us have had to have an encounter with the floods. So, in other words, we have been affected directly and sometimes indirectly, but it's all over. The water, we can say, is all over, not just on the ground, but also in our businesses. We know that schools, also have been closed for a bit. Of course, they are opening, but they were closed for a bit, all because of the water. So we've all been affected in different ways. And what we've known is that a lot has been done in terms of the physical life, the physical, just doing things, the physical movement of the people. But in terms of their mind, this is a high pressure moment. It's a high pressure moment. A lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of mental confusion and distress. And to help us just engage this mental state of our country right now, this high pressure moment, is Mercy Irungu. Mercy Irungu is a relationship therapist. She's a counselor as well. And she's here to just help us navigate this conversation on how to manage high pressure moments. And she does great work in different sectors, in different with corporates, with communities, and this is an area where she is also really concerned about. And as always, you are part of this conversation. Do engage us on the social media platforms that are displayed there, and also on the WhatsApp line. Let's hear what you have to say about this season high pressure moments as we welcome Mercy Irungu to lead us in this conversation. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Reverend.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see you.
Happy to see you too. And
Yeah.
you and waters, where you live, how has this affected you?
Oh, a lot. Even where I live, there's a lot of water. On the road, there's water. Houses have water. I mean, even the houses that were not getting leakages, most of them have been confirmed that there are leakages in houses. Roads have been cut off. Schools ain't kids are not going to school because the dams, the bridges are cut off. And so there's a lot of water everywhere. And I do not know what are the temperatures, but I know we shall still, as we go on, know what are the temperatures. But even as I was coming today, it was raining. There's so many parts of this country which are experiencing heavy rains. Today I received a message by Red Cross telling me that I should expect heavy rain in my area, which is Nairobi. So, I mean, I'm anxious myself that what is this heavy rain? Those days we used to be told this type of degree Celsius, it's going to be like this. You remember the weatherman?
Yeah.
Right now, the weather is on the phone. You're told this is what to expect. And so myself, I'm also in there that the waters are so high. For me, I've seen scenes of waters, floods, people getting carried away by floods, cars carried away by floods, by water. And it really leaves me with a very anxious heart that what is the expectation of me and this weather? Because again, weather is from God.
When you bring faith, it's a whole discussion there.
Yeah.
About God and a lot of rain. And I know that you are a spiritual lady. But where do you find God in all this? Like, heavy rains and floods and people displaced and I mean, as a Christian, how are you digesting this?
Yeah, it is. As a Christian, I am expecting anything because the Bible tells me that there's time for everything. There's time for everything. There's time for a lot of sun, drought. You know, there are times when we have drought. Right now, we have rainfall to its magnitude, you know. So I have no control. You see, I do not have any control with the weather. You know, we as psychologists, we normally say that the things that you don't have control of, you just leave them. So as a Christian and as a psychologist, what should I do for the heavy rains that have come? That is how do I respond with these floods?
That's now as a psychologist.
Yes.
As a Christian, you are maybe open to God's help this time.
It's the only
as a
way.
Psychologist, you are asking yourself, what do I do?
Exactly.
You know? And talking about circumstances,
yes.
Just nearby where I live,
Yeah.
a whole bridge was swept away, and the river was relocated to a place where that doesn't usually flow.
Yes.
It was really amazing on one hand, but very distressing on the other.
Yes.
Homes that were on that corridor were all flooded, and people have to live. I've seen people in my neighborhood also just with the slightest drop of water, stress and start running up and down.
Yeah.
They are totally distressed because any drop of water means they may not sleep.
Sure.
Means their children may not be disturbed.
Yes.
Because it may mean that water will get into their homes. And so, from what you have, from your experience, also, I'm sure that you've been observing things in the nation, maybe also in your neighborhoods. What are some of the events that have the stack of things regarding how people have responded to the flood? Some things that you say you've observed or you've read and seen. This is sad.
Yeah. The first thing, the atmospheres, there's a lot of anxiety because the slightest drop sparks what will happen next. Am I going to be in the middle of flash floods? For example, maybe there are people who are sick. How can people access the hospitals? And the roads have been cut off, you know? Yeah? Losses. I've seen cows being carried away. I've seen people being swept away. I've seen homes being swept away, not even to mention my nephew. So there's a lot of sadness, you know? People are sad. They have lost their loved ones in these floods, you know? And people have lost property, yeah? Loss of jobs. And so where I live currently even, there's also suicide cases, you know? Because there's a lot of desperation, you know? Livelihoods are gone. Let's say a mama mboga with a business, it has been swept away with the floods. They do not know where and what next, you know? That is a stressor by itself. The education system, the kids are at home. We can't forget that. And thank God today that it was announced that on Monday kids will go back to school. That's a reliever. But again, there's uncertainty.
But I also learned on a light note that when the schools were suspended,
yes,
some parents ate school food. So diverted the school fees to other areas, and so stress is back. Anyway.
I understand. Really, it happened. So they have to go back and know what to do to pay school fees because that is their obligation.
You mentioned something about that.
Yes.
And that has not come to the fore a lot of, it's not brought to the fore quite a bit. We get the victims in terms of suffering, but we have not gotten a lot of like notices on people who are responding to these stress times through suicide.
Exactly. You see, once...
Is there a case that you have in mind?
Recently, actually, we've read even on the social media, there's a lady, a middle-aged lady, maybe in her 30s or thereabout. She just tied her baby at the back and she threw herself in the river.
So sad.
You see, that is in the news currently. And what would make someone get to that level? Because they see no way out. There is no way out in this. It could be also a trigger, you know. Floods may be a trigger. Okay, I've suffered too much, so why then should I suffer with these floods? You know, there are many cases. There's separation right now because the finances are not enough. There is misplaced people. We have IDPs already. They are missing persons, you know. And so if a relative misses someone, they are wondering, where can we get these people? They get frustrated. Recently, we have seen cases of Madare demolitions and also Mukuru. And there's loss of life, there's loss of property, there is loss of homes, there is confusion. And these cases is a confirmation that there's anguish. Yeah? And what can we do as Kenyans going through all this?
That's an important question.
Yes.
Because when you read the state of the nation right now, if there was supposed like the state of the nation,
Yes.
One of the maybe descriptions that would fit rightly, as you've said, is we are a stressed nation.
Yeah.
We are almost a hopeless nation. We are an anxious nation in that way.
Yeah.
So we'll start first. Let's start from the individual level before we go to systems of institutions and all that.
Yes.
As an individual, I mean, you've lost your house, you know, to water, or rather, you cannot access your house.
Yes.
Due to water. You can't go to work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, very little life has stopped. What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you respond to it?
It's painful. That's the word. First of all, digest the pain, because it is painful. To be displaced, assume that like people in Nyando you've seen, and people are just moving with boats, you know, carrying the only thing that you can be able to salvage to go to a higher ground. We have seen news at Kijabi, and people are being even told to move, you know, because the dam is almost bursting. And so that is change. I would request people to embrace the sudden change. Let us not fight it, because once an individual fights change, they get stressed, you know, and they would end up thinking about losing their lives, you know, taking their lives, you know, being distorted minds, you know, stressed. So what I would request people to do right now, if a person is told, please carry your family, let us go to higher ground, please, it is the high time to embrace it. Just move. You never know, even that could be a better place for you for now. Right now, we normally say life fast. Life fast, regardless whether you have property, regardless whether you have livestock. Where is your safety right now as a Kenyan? Life fast. Forget about whatever you had earned, you know, everybody to forget their land. I saw there are people whose land has gone, even their crops. Can you imagine? Like a whole acre flooded and everything has been swept away. The plants, where is that person? Where is that farmer right now? He has a loan of the seeds he had taken from the Shamba system. Right now, it's gone with the rains. That is already a stressor. And so, as I speak even to that farmer right now, whose heart is really gone, so, I mean, it has never happened. You know, my grandfather told me that it has never happened. These floods are too much. We've never seen this. And so, let us embrace change. Life fast. Everything else will come.
Okay, let's stay with that. Embrace
Yes,
the change, life fast.
Yes.
But Mercy, some of these things happen quickly. You are sleeping at night, and I mean, landslide happens, flooding happens. I don't know why it happens a lot at night. You know, it's sudden.
Yeah.
It is abrupt. It's unexpected. So that moment, how do you? I mean, I think it's shock, maybe.
Yeah. There's shock.
So how that suddenness, that confusing moment. Is there a way that one can possibly manage themselves within that moment of really high, unexpected pressure?
Yeah, it is. As a human being, we are created to be secure naturally. Naturally. But the moment even here, any other place you hear there's something that is threatening your safety, your security, first of all, you get shocked. Yeah. And then you run away. That is it. So if floods, let's say there's a flash flood or there's heavy rain and the rains they have started dripping in and you hear sudden noise, first of all is to be shocked. You hear something is not right. Then you save your life. That is the first thing to do. Save your life. We've had cases like my Mahio, whereby there's a man who said he managed to save his little children and himself. But the best thing is save yourself first, because life is the first thing. There's something we call trauma. When all these things are happening, can you imagine where the Maimahio people are right now? Can you imagine the people who have been affected by floods are right now? They saw their property going. They saw their people being swept away. They saw their cars go. These people are suffering from extreme trauma, I mean, the scenes are not so good. Actually, even right now on social media, there's a lot of anxiety, even if you have not been affected, because this is a natural catastrophe, You do not know whether it's coming your way or not. So the shock is there, anxiety is there, trauma is there. The weatherman is still telling us we are not yet out of the woods. So what can we do as Kenyans?
This time it's out of the floods, not the woods.
Yes, out of the, exactly. Yeah. I like it. Out of the floods. And so we can only manage ourselves by becoming obedient. For example, if, I saw Kenyans in, I don't know, Machakos, that there's a lorry and they can see the danger and they're still following to cross the bridge and they died. They were swept away. So let's be cautious. Let's save lives. This is now, it's not a joke. It is serious business. And so let us stay away from things that will cause us have harm to ourselves.
So life first.
Life first.
Think preservation.
That is it.
Now, you've mentioned the catastrophes that have happened.
Yes.
Some of them are multiple.
Yeah.
There is a person who has maybe a flooded house.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what they're dealing with. So they're dealing with, where do I live? Where do I stay? But there's another person who is dealing with a flooded house. Is dealing not a flooded house, but actually, like in my Mayu case, you are dealing with a landslide. Your land, your crop is gone.
Yes.
Your house is gone. Your family is gone. And even now, you are in a strange place. So it's multiple, a series of unfortunate events. So it is shocking on one hand, but it's shock at a whole other level.
Yeah.
Now, can you maybe explain to us the capacity of the human brain to handle multiple pains like that?
Thank you very much. I was coming to that question. Thank you so much for asking it. There's something we call the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? That is the point where these people are. When you go through a lot of multiple issues in your life or even stressors, extreme, that's the time to ask, what is the meaning of life? And I'm here to say, life has a meaning. That is the point whereby you discover, I had not put the meaning of life with property. I had not put the meaning of life with this beautiful house of mine. I had not, the meaning of life is not my family. What is my purpose? The will to live is what I would like people to know. Do you have a will to live even when catastrophes come on your way? Excuse me. Do you have the will to see another day despite what has happened to you during this season? The will is what I want to talk to people about. What is your will? What is the meaning of your life now? We normally talk about a psychologist by the name Viktor Frankl, who suffered a lot during war, and he saw people dying. People were killed. His relatives, his kids, he was left alone, and he was spared. So imagine one person is spared, and they look and say, "Oh, really? Does this has any meaning?" And then you say, "Yes, I have the will to live." So I would like to speak to the people who've been affected, but please have the will to live despite the situations. And that's where you'll find the meaning of life.
Mercy,
Yeah.
what if I lived for my family? I lived for my wife, who is now gone. I lived for my children, they're gone. They were, for me, the meaning of life.
Yes.
Now, they're gone. So how do I find the will to live again?
Wow. You see, life is for the living. And we're looking at the present moment. Yeah? The past is gone. Everything has been swept away. Property has gone. So what? What is on the table right now? Is life. What is the next meal? Yeah? Because we want to live. What is the next meal? What is the next cloth? You know, what are the basic needs that a person needs to live first? Of course, there's a lot of loss. There's grief, you know, there's desperation, there's loss of hope, there's no hope. And that's why I'm saying this is the turnaround to ask a question: why am I living? That is when everybody will discover why they are living.
Why am I spared?
Exactly. Why have I been spared? Why did I see all my cows, all my family gone, my land, and I'm here? That means I have a lot to do to the society. I have a lot to do to my village. I have a lot to do, yeah, to my future generation. What can you do today? For example, if a disaster happens, like the one that many people have been affected, what is the meaning of your life right now where you are? Even if somebody is in an IDP camp, can you start talking to people about something? Can you start organizing people? Can you start cooking for those people? Can you start? I mean, that is what we call purpose. Because every human being has a purpose in this life. Whether they have a lot or the little they have, everybody has a purpose. And that's why I'm talking about the will. What is your will as a human being right now in your situation? And we cannot not only talk about the floods. Let's talk about even when things are good. For example, when things are nice, you know, everything is happening, the systems are working, there's bumper harvest. Still, it's good to ask. Everybody should ask themselves, what's the will in this bumper harvest? What can I do with it? So even during floods like today, organizations, what can we do to support the people who've been affected?
Which is a point we're going to come to.
Yes.
But let's stay a bit with this person who is in a devastating situation.
Yeah.
And what you've mentioned is that there is a point, there's a purpose. Even in that loss, there's a purpose.
Yes.
But we admit it's a journey.
Yeah.
For some, between the grief and refining their will,
Oh, yes.
it's a journey.
Yeah.
But Is there any way, let's say you are, right now you're okay, you're safe. Life is progressing as it should. Is there a way you can prepare your mind for a catastrophe that is, not that you don't pray that it comes, but can you equip your mind in a way that when danger comes, when your good times are disrupted, somehow you'll still be able to, to somehow, still maintain some kind of stand, some poise?
Yeah.
What can one do?
Yeah, someone can do something. It's possible. Because I had talked about seasons. Yeah, there's time for everything. That is number one. Secondly, I had already talked about anything you have no control. Just leave it the way it is because you'll be stressed. So the best thing to do is to live at that moment. I know it's hard, but it's good to tame one's mind. I'm going to live my life despite whatever the situation that comes. And that calls a lot of self-awareness. Reverend, I've talked about self-awareness here many times. Once you know yourself, once Mercy knows how to react to things when they come, she'll be calm. Because she knows this is for a short time. She has her own values. She has her own beliefs. Yeah. And she has emotional intelligences to know how do I choose? I can choose to be annoyed or I choose to be happy. It is me. Everything is beyond everybody's control. Yeah. How do you control tempers, for example? How do I control my emotions? How do I control my behavior when something happens to me? So it starts with an individual. So how can somebody be able to control their emotions, at better emotions or bad emotions? To be aware. For example, I had talked about triggers, and majority of things that happen to us immediately are triggered by things that happened a long time ago. That's why we react. It's a trigger. And so right now, remember, we are coming from COVID-19. It's about 4 years ago when COVID struck us. Now we have the floods. So it's also a trigger. Look at the schools. The system is almost being affected. It's a trigger. Loss of jobs. It's a trigger right now. And so as a reminder is, how do you respond? I've talked about resilience in this place. In this world, we don't expect things to be good. They'll always be not good. They'll be good and bad times. Yeah? There's going to be laughter and there's going to be grief. Right now, we're talking about grief, loss. Let us accept where we are. Yeah? If my livestock have gone, I'm just accepting it. Yeah? People should accept losses. It has happened. There's another stage called denial. I'm like, is it me really? No. And why did I go through this and not someone else? Yeah? Why was my house swept away and not my neighbor's house? There's that denial. And why? Have I done something wrong? No. Accept it just had to happen. Once we accept this is the reality of the situation, then we come into terms and say, oh yeah, let's remember the good times we had with those people we have lost. Let's remember the big land we had. Yeah? Let us remember the good things. Yeah? I've talked about positive psychology, and I would like to mention it here. It's good to know it's an opportunity we've been given today even to sit here. So do your best now. Is it like the way we have this show? I'm assuming this is the best show we're having. Yeah? Because once an individual does not do the best at that time, they're gonna regret it. So point is, wherever we are, let's do the best so that we live it. The will to do good, the purpose. Yeah. And so I would like to ask our viewers even, do they know themselves first? Self-awareness, so that they can be able to cope with the issues that come by them. Why? Issues must come. How courageous are we to face floods today? How prepared are we to face the floods today? Even in your home, even in our homes. Rev, you know, if my parking has some floods, so it's my time to go and open the ways so that the water can. What are we doing in our homes today for the floods to come and go? You know, what measures? Yeah, you know, we're talking about the government. Yeah, the government has not done this. The government, but we are the government. What can you do right now in your space to prevent the floods from affecting you?
Talk about institutions
Mhm.
point and
Yeah.
how they should
Yes.
move into.
Yes.
Now, many people
Yeah.
are just watching on television, scrolling their social media pages, shaking their heads, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not moved, they themselves. I think that's also another catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
People not being moved to support those who are, you know, in a bad situation
Yes.
in the environment.
Yes.
I think that also
Mm-hmm.
is a bad situation,
Mm-hmm.
whereby, I mean, you're just frozen or you're just a spectator, and you can't move. So
Yeah.
there is a catastrophe of those who are victims. There's a catastrophe of those who are not moved also to
yeah.
help. Can you speak to them?
Yeah, for sure. This is a national catastrophe. It does not choose where to go. It's a natural thing. It's a disaster. And so anybody is prone. Yeah. Tomorrow is here. The other day is here. So let us love one another. Let's be compassionate to one another. Let us try to help where we can, whether institutions, whether individuals, whether church groups, whether estate groups. Let us wake up to help our people, our victims, because we do not know. This is a natural thing. We do not know where it's going to land next time. And so it is a new thing. We've never experienced it. Remember, this has been even read. It is really, the last time we had this kind of rainfall was a long time ago. And we have even seen people who are living in good places and it has been flooded. Yeah, we've read in the news. And so let us love one another. Yeah. If it is a boat, I've seen we have boats. Yeah. This is the high time now to help. If we have boats, let's help our neighbors. Yeah. Ferry. Yeah. If we have food, let us share with our people. Yeah. Clothing. This is not the time to sit down, Rev. Yeah. And that is a call that I would like to ask. I'm a humanitarian, you know that. If we have those clothes and there's a lot of clothes, instead of them going with the floods, give them out. Yeah, that's the simple things. Yeah. Let us start there. Let us start from our homes. What can we do to help people? And please let us help. We talk about compassion. Yeah. Jesus was compassionate, for sure. So let us soften our hearts. You know, there's that rigidity. You know, people are rigid, as you have said. They're watching. Let us melt down, go to the level of the people who have been affected. Yeah. I know the roads have been cut off, but there's something we can do. There's the Kenya Red Cross. There's the organizations that are helping, humanitarian churches. I mean, I would like to see the churches wake up and coming to task. Please, churches, our leaders, let us see this as a national disaster. Let us come help where we can. Yeah, I saw IDPs now. The primary schools are hosting a lot of IDPs. Yeah, people who have been displaced because of floods. It's high time Kenyans visit those people. Yeah, it's high time Mercy visit those people and know what is their mental state. Someone talked about they are sleeping with the father-in-law, mother-in-law in the same room, which is not traditional.
But as you said, life first.
Yes.
Life first.
Yes. Yes.
I want to also bring to you as a psychologist.
Yeah.
There are people who see the catastrophe, but they are disconnected from it. They start blaming and saying, I mean, those people have brought that on themselves, you know. Then they also feel that, well, it's their problem, right? I mean, it's what mind, what informs a mind like that, that is not moved. And I would also say that this can also relate in larger life.
Yeah.
There are people who are not moved. If the spouse is not moved by the pain of the other spouse. There are people who actually even delight in pain.
Yes.
No, they delight in pain.
Yes.
And so they are compassionless. They even extremes of just causing pain themselves for their own joy. You know, can you speak to this indifference or this this bad situation? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a sad place to be. Not having feelings or not being moved, and this comes. It's sad. I've said it's a sad thing because it's an attachment issue. Once a spouse is not interested with the other person, with the fiancé, it shows there's a lot of they're avoiding, they're disconnecting themselves because they have a lot, Rev. You know, there's a lot in them when they were growing up. That is it. For example, if today a child is left by their parents to fend for themselves, maybe the child is 3 years old, they don't have food, you know, they are going through a lot of hardships. The parents went to work. They even don't come. Maybe the kids are the ones who are taking care of themselves. Later in life, these kids become hardened. And so when they reach a point of getting married and having spouses to love, yes, they are connected in love, but their behavior keeps them aside because that is how their brain was when they were growing. They didn't have that kind of an attachment that, you know, the way you love your kids, you hug them, you eat together, you provide, you know. Kids who love, or spouses who love very good, they are secure people. Spouses who care for their husbands or their wives, they are very secure. But spouses who live, let's say a spouse is a sick person and they do not mind, I mean, that is your problem. You go to the hospital and you get healed and you come back to me because they had an issue when they were growing up. So this is a childhood issue. But once a person goes for therapy, they will be told that this is what happened during your childhood. Yeah. And that's why you're avoiding your spouse. That is why you're so disconnected. That is why you're not moved. And that still affects to the society. When you see individuals who are not moved, they must have had a very rough, a very rough childhood. So they are not secure until they know themselves. I know I'm not secure, and this is the time for me to be secure. How do I become secure? I'm going to know myself and what happened to me when I was growing up and mend it myself. There's something we call numbing. There's something we call getting used to issues until you don't feel like there is any issue. You know, that's a very, very high risk place to be because we are meant to be compassionate. We are meant to love one another. We are meant to serve each other. The only place, Rev, can I say this? I know. The only place to feel fulfilled is when you're serving. When you do not expect anything in return. That is the place to be.
Yeah, I think for Kenyans, we have a long way to go because even the smallest service, let's say somebody is just asking for way, and somebody says, do I go left, do I go right? They'll say, oh, go right. And then you kind of are moving, like so a person will ask, hey, unaenda tu? I mean, what's, service without expecting anything in return? It's quite a task for us as a country, but, and service, people go there. People go, let's say, go visit the ones who are stranded, the IDPs, the victims of the floods. And people say all manner of things. We see politicians going and they are addressing maybe the physical issues of we'll move you to this place. Others would go and have a lot of things that they bring. When people visit people in that kind of situation, again, I ask you as a psychologist here, what should they do and what shouldn't they do?
Okay, yeah, that's great. Let me first with what they should do. Of course, they'll carry something. Like now it's cold. They can carry foodstuffs. They can carry clothing, They can carry hope. As always, Mercy carries hope everywhere she goes. There is hope in everything because this is just gonna end. It's not something permanent, and life fast, what can we do now? We can only live. I like that phrase so much because what else can we do? We can only live. Let us live for the moment. That is the message. That is the message. Tell them life fast. Live for today. I know you've lost. It is true. Yeah. But that is already gone. Yeah. Let us deal with what is on the table. Right now, you're in a classroom. You've been assisted with this. That's the reality. It's good to know what is the reality and not to be in denial. This is the blueprint and it's not changing. Yeah. This is what has happened. Let us first of all see that so that we go on a journey of healing. The only thing they should not say is maybe cry together with them. There's that tendency of, when we are going to console people who have lost. Oh, hata mimi, it happened to me. Now you're reminding them about what happened. It's not right. Just be with them at that time. Be with them, feel the pain together, give them hope for that day. Every day there's gonna be healing. Yeah, they can do meditation. Yeah, they can recount what happened. It's very good to recount. Let them say what happened. Let them say niliona mlio mkubwa ikitoka kule ikakuja. Let them narrate their story. It makes them free up the clogged memories. It's good to say. If they cry, let them cry. Give somebody time to cry. It's good to lament what happened. That is the road to recovery, So it's not always good to cry as somebody who is consoling the other. It's okay to cry for you, but for them, let them cry and give them hope. That is the thing. Give them hope a day at a time. That is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you don't just show up and you don't just say things.
Yeah.
There are things, there's the way you show up.
Yes.
And there are things you say,
Yeah.
others you do not say.
Yes.
Spirituality, the faith in God, in this circumstance, how does it come in as an asset?
You see, God is everything. God is sovereign. As a Christian, I know there's another higher power than mine. And as I said, if today we slept, we're going to sleep around 12. For me, maybe I sleep at 11:30. I do not know exactly the time I slept. You will not know. You will just say, I slept around 11:20, but you do not know the time exactly. And that's it. Give yourself. It is well. If it is sleeping, let people sleep. If it is believing in God, believe in God because there's a higher power. If let me say this, when you hear the rain pounding down the roof,
The roofs, yeah.
Everybody's anxious. Other people are not sleeping. They're having panic attacks. I've seen cases whereby people are telling me, Mercy, I can't sleep. I'm just imagining my roof is out and something happens. No, just pray and sleep. Let God do his work. After all, I know this is hard, but I'm going to mention it. How are you ready for anything? Have you given your life, surrender it to God in fully? You know, that is the question. Because when we sleep, we do not even know the time we slept. So even when we wake up, it's a miracle. So let's count miracles in our lives every day. And let us not be anxious. If any anxiety comes, face it. For example, when I sleep, sometimes I would feel the rain, and I say, this rain is going to rain and stop. Let me sleep. You know, deal with. It's good to bargain, have a bargaining power. Like, I can only sleep under this house. I don't have any other power. God do the rest. Yeah.
So on normal day,
Yes.
as a psychologist, do you find it easier to engage or support people who have a spirituality compared to people who do not have?
Okay, in psychology, we do not go any side because we find many beliefs.
Yeah, I'm asking just from your experience.
Yes.
People, you usually know this person's a person of faith, whatever faith it is.
Uh-huh.
And the other people who you will know, they're not of faith.
Yes, of course.
Do you find it that people of faith either more difficult to deal with, or can you say that a faith does help in hard times?
You see, what you've said is right.
Okay.
Faith does help because at the end of the day, what are one's beliefs? Beliefs are the ones that carry you to the next level. What a person believes in, live it. You know, if I believe in God, I know this thing, it's above me. So I let God. Yeah. If they believe in anything else, the belief is very strong. And so a belief enables someone to feel at ease, you know, because there's another supernatural power than the one we believe in. And so, you know, most of the time, I know, let me mention this. There are people who are asking, where is God here? You know, where is God? If really I believe in God and God took my family, God took my property, God took my home, then, I mean, there's somebody who told me I'm so annoyed with God. How can God do this to me? But this is it. Let God do his work. Let us do our work. Let us believe in God. You know, like, if everything happens, we don't have any control. And I've always talked about this every time. Let us not stick to our worldly things too much. Let us soften. You know why? The day we go 6 feet under rev, you go with nothing.
Yeah.
And so, why then are we holding? Yeah, we live a day at a time. We live at the present. Yes, that is the will.
And well, practically, must say, people are really attached to their stuff. People are attached to their homes. That's why when their home is marooned by water, they don't just say, you know, I mean, it's happening, you know, so what can I do? They shed tears, because that's their home, that's their retirement home. They invested so much, you know.
It's true.
I did see somebody just carrying a dog, you know, like a baby.
Yeah,
And I was
I saw that.
whoa, okay. I mean, and the dog, what impressed me was actually the dog just accepting. It's as if the dog knows this is a bad situation.
Yeah.
So just to say that, you know, sometimes people are very attached to things. And moments like this, again, we are reminded to query our relationship with things. You know? And just the finding meaning, sometimes in just the fact that you're living, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Just finding meaning in that. And also being ready sometimes to just live anew.
Yeah.
That things can pass away. In that case, can you start life again? You know? That's the theory of things.
Yeah.
The reality, and this is a question that many viewers would want to also know about, is just the trauma the trauma that comes after this.
Yeah.
Right now, if you are displaced, there's a lot of attention. People are making phone calls. People are visiting.
Yeah.
People are,
Yeah.
there's a lot of concern going on.
Yeah.
But there are traumas that are carried from this event. Say, for instance, the water.
Yeah.
Say, for instance, the deaths. And I think in your capacity, you can maybe tell us some of the traumas that would come out of a situation like this, and maybe how to address them.
Yeah, currently there's a lot of trauma. First of all, if people saw their relatives being swept away, that's already traumatic. If they saw their property going, if currently they are in IDP and they are remembering what happened, those are traumas, and many other things. Missing persons, they do not know where they were, or maybe they heard noises. We are told the Maimahi are telling us they heard a loud bang. That's a trauma already. And what happens is these people are experiencing a mental issue. Yeah, something was disrupted. Once the mind or the brain is disrupted, Raev, nothing is the same. Because the brain, there's a way the brain is tuned to follow. The brain is very obedient. For example, how do you drive your car and you're speaking on the phone and you're looking at people? You drive with the subconscious mind. Is it true? And so, when we live in the subconscious mind, everybody lives in the subconscious mind. But once a disaster happens, your mind becomes conscious. Like now, their minds are very conscious. The mind is alert. This is what happened to me. This is a trauma. They have been disrupted. And so how to deal with trauma right now is to accept what happened and to narrate the same thing I had talked about, Visit the place. I'm sure the victims, maybe at some time, there are people who would like to visit where they called their home for memories, for just remembering this is the place that my family, perished. Maybe it's going to bring a closure, to them. There are others who do not want to ever visit. That's a trauma. Yeah. So it's going to be a healing. It's a healing process. It takes time. Yeah. I'm sure, I don't know, but mostly they're not even sleeping. Others are not eating. People behave differently with trauma. There are people who sleep. There are others who do not sleep. There are people who eat. There are others who do not eat. There are people who run away. You'll never see them again, Rev. There are people who never speak. We behave differently with trauma. And so it's good to allow someone to process the situation. And then from there, they could seek help. Yeah. I am not very sure, but where I see it, there are organizations who are offering mental health for those people who have been displaced by floods, hope, managing the trauma, lamenting, very important, storytelling, making it happen, coming out, And so we can only manage the traumatic events to these people by speaking to them, by talking to them, and later healing, and then going back to where the issue was. What happened? And please, for the people, it's support. I would like to see a lot of support. Rev, to anybody who has been affected by the floods, let us reach out to one another.
Okay.
Like God, God reaches to us every day. Yeah? So let us reach to one another with what we can. Experts, professionals, the medics, Today we've been told there's an outbreak of cholera already, And, we need to support one another in this.
Okay.
The life fast.
I think, Mercy, I think that's a very good point to end this conversation. Just like we began. You began by telling us life first, and you end up by again reminding us life first. I'm sure that the viewers just listening to Your perspectives have a lot of insights, helpful things
Yeah.
that can help them not just in this situation, but also in life. Thanks again for being on Spotlight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Viewer, this has been Spotlight, and just talking about this season and the high pressure that many people are facing, directly, indirectly. But we've been reminded that there are times when you can do a lot of things. There are times when your life is large and you can deal with 10,000 things. But there are moments when we are called to a singular thing. And what we've been reminded is, in times of high pressure, the one singular thing is life first. And now, also been invited that for those people who are just in loss, let's also be supports to also demonstrate to them that they can live again, because the point is life first. This has been Spotlight. Thank you for watching.